Hi everybody, I am going to talk about the creative and alternative therapies as one of the therapeutic approaches in social casework intervention. Expressive art therapy includes the creative and alternative therapies which attempt to reach out to clients with various problems through artistic expression of what lies within and to fulfill the human need for self-expression in a society that is becoming increasingly mechanized. Expressive art therapy is a vehicle for awakening dormant creativity, whereas psychotherapy assists clients in verbalizing their unspoken and unresolved conflicts. It contributes to restoring the cognitive or intellectual or emotional and creative vacuum in today's stress-driven, technological, impersonal and often unsafe world. Expressive art therapy can lead clients of all ages to a better understanding of their unconscious through interpretation of developmental phases and of psychic structure as shown in their artwork. Expressive art therapy is a means for accessing hidden resources and provides clients with a vehicle for expressing their internal conflicts and to do so throughout their lifespan. These therapies also help in the study of the ego as indicated by art therapists who have become aware of the relationship between the graphic form and character development. There are a variety of techniques that can be chosen to assist the client in accessing the unconscious world that contains solutions to current problems. Choosing the technique or the form that expressive art therapy will take is dependent on the therapist orientation and training, the inclination of the client and the presence of appropriate materials in the therapy room. Although expressive art therapy is thought to include drawing, painting, sculpture, play, music, movement and psychodrama with families, therapists are limited only by their own creativity in the selection of activities. What follows is a discussion of a variety of approaches therapists can use, as well as separate sections on play therapy and storytelling. At the end of this talk, you will identify the rationale for using creative and alternative therapies with clients. Learn the forms that can be used in the form or expressive art-based therapies and understand the different forms of alternative therapies in social casework practice. Let me describe the finger painting, which is one of the expressive art therapy approaches. Finger painting is a form of projective play and is viewed within the context of the therapeutic situation. It is introduced to the client by describing the process but without suggesting color or themes. Finger paints and paper are made available with the directions of paint a picture of something important to you or of a dream or of your family doing something together. While the painting is being completed, the therapist remains in the room with an attitude of creative objectivity, taking note of the client's behavior as well as the content of the production. The therapist observes how the client applies himself or herself, the rate and rhythm of the work, colors used, types of lines and so forth. When the picture is complete, the client is first asked to tell a story of the painting and then to discuss if anything in the painting reminds him or her of something in real life. The pictorial productions and fantasies the clients create about themselves are characteristic for them and undergo relatively minor modification with the passing of time. The consistent use of finger painting has proved invaluable in helping a client with behavior problems and neuroses. In the therapeutic setting, it allows the observation of personality and motor skills. It facilitates the emergence of the client's fantasies and inner world and acts both as evidence of ego strength and as an evaluative measure of progress. Let me tell you about the squiggle drawing game. This game is an adaptation of a technique developed by Grisberg. First, the therapist draws a squiggle and then the client makes any kind of drawing he or she wants out of it. Then the therapist reverses roles with the client. The client makes a squiggle with the therapist completing the drawing and telling a story about it to the client, who is allowed to ask questions. The game continues in this fashion, with each taking turns as long as it is therapeutically productive and interactively enjoyable. This game is a pleasant method as well as a therapeutic one. It uncovers the unconscious mind by allowing fantasy squiggles to express what is hidden. Let me mention about the kinetic family drawing and the blob and wallpaper techniques. Gill described the kinetic family drawing technique by suggesting that therapists ask family members to draw pictures of each person in the family doing something together. Members share their picture with the others, asking what they see, what is significant, what is a surprise, or what is different. As members share their responses, therapists observe communication styles, control issues, joking, affection, and other process type information. Important insight can arise in these sessions and pictures, which can be examined projectively if desired. The blob and wet paper technique is also described by Oil, who noted that blobs and dribbles can be made on wet paper with ink, markers, or watercolors. The wet paper is then crumbled and spread flat. Colors are then dropped on the pages to make ink blots, or glue can be spread to hold other crumbled papers, glitter, sequins, feathers, and so forth can be added to add texture to the paintings. If working with families, they can make joint paintings with each contributing to the whole. Clients typically indicate they feel relief after completing this exercise and then discuss what their creations mean to them. Let me describe the mask making. Mask making is an exciting and powerful adventure that finds its roots in the initiation ceremonies of indigenous cultures. Having clients make their masks is a journey along their own personal path toward spiritual evolution, especially if done immediately after the therapist provides guided imagery that sets the stage for this to happen. Mask making involves clients discovering who they are, on the deepest levels. To make a mask requires clients to know the difference between their persona and who they are at their core. I would like to tell you about the interpreting art activities. Therapists can use interpretation in sessions with the client when they believe the client's egos can accept the interpretations. Whitmore noted that painful and uncomfortable thoughts and feelings need to be accepted by the ego, and there needs to be a flow and dialogue between the conscious and the unconscious mind. An effective interpretation helps this process. Rosen stated that the principal value of expressive art therapy is the archetypal conflict tormenting the patient's soul that is made visible in image form, so that the client can confront it and decide what to do with the part of the psyche to which it refers. He added that this therapy helped his clients to synthesize and transform their potentially destructive energy into constructive compositions. Because a primary function of the therapist is to create sacred space in which internal drama can unfold safely, interpretation is seldom needed as the process occurs on an unconscious level. When it is desirable to offer interpretation, a schema divided to examine artworks completed by clients can evoke and render archetypes of transformation. This is a profoundly effective therapeutic technique and allows the healing process to occur at the deepest level. Let me explain about the play therapy. Play therapy is explicitly discussed because it is much more than a series of separate activities and is based on a well-researched body of knowledge. It is a dynamic approach to counseling children and people of all ages because of its use of the primary medium through which children learn actual play. Because play is a medium of learning for children, adults who did not play much as children can benefit from returning to that medium. Skills that are not learned from playing can create a deficit in the areas of handling rejection, cooperation, and competition. Frey noted that play enhances the physical, social, emotional, and intellectual growth across stages of human development, and as such can serve many adults as well. Let me outline the descriptive characteristics of play therapy. There are several descriptive characteristics adapted from Garvey that suggest that play can be considered as one of the expressive arts. Let me mention some of the descriptive characteristics of play therapy. Play is enjoyable and pleasurable. Play has no extrinsic purpose or external goals. Play is undertaken spontaneously and voluntarily. Play involves active participation on the part of the client. Play is related to other aspects of development, namely creativity, problem solving, language learning, motor activity, and appropriate social roles in a coordinated way. Play enlarges the client's understanding of the world in which he or she lives and allows the client to explore objects, roles, language, and feelings without serious risk. The original purposes of play therapy, as identified by Amster, can be extended to apply to expressive art therapy as well. In short, play therapy aids assessment understanding, helps establish the intervention or treatment relationship, provides with a medium for working through defense and handling anxieties, assists in the verbalization of feelings, helps a client act out unconscious material and relieve the accompanying tensions, and enlarges the client's play interest for eventual use outside the therapy. Axeline stated that for her, play therapy starts where the children are and let them go as far as they are able to go. She did not do any assessment interviews before the actual therapy, and interpretation was ruled out as far as it was possible to do so. The therapist is non-directive and the therapy is client-centered. The clients are the source of living power that directed the growth from within themselves. According to Mustax, play therapy may be thought of as a set of attitudes in and through which children may feel free enough to express themselves fully, so that eventually they may achieve feelings of security, adequacy, and worthiness through emotional insight. The belief is that these attitudes are communicable. They can be transmitted from one person to another. They cannot be taught, but they can be learned. Let me describe the sand play therapy. Sand play is also accorded a separate section due to the considerable research conducted by Calf, Stewart, and others who have provided a vast body of research-based knowledge. Sand play is generally known by psychotherapists and analysts of Jungian persuasion, for whom it holds a special place as a paradigm of what Jung called active imagination, an activity that facilitates the process of individuation. Calf has had the greatest effect on developing the approach, formulating theoretical principles, and training many practitioners throughout the world. The method involves using a container approximately 20 into 30 into 3 with the inside painted blue and filled with 2 inches of sand. Hundreds of miniature toys and objects from which the client may choose are made available, with no effort made to direct the selection. Clients are given the suggestion to make their world in the sand. Each object used in this process has its own shape and symbolic meaning, and each tends to trigger a fantasy reaction. Calf stated that the symbols speak for inner energy-laden pictures of the innate potentials of the human being, which, when expressed, facilitates psychological development. Sand play is a process, the sand tray the medium, and the sand world the finished product. The therapist plays a key role in establishing a sacred space in which the inner drama of the client and his or her healing potential can unfold. As in other forms of expressive art therapy, interpretation is seldom needed because the client's issues are resolved on an unconscious symbolic level. The process of expressing what is inside the individual by creating a world in the sand makes the inner problem visible and allows therapeutic movement and growth. The process moves through several stages: chaos, conflict, and resolution in recurring cycles, with the client eventually reaching the point at which he or she can say it is done. Let me now tell you about storytelling. Throughout history, storytelling has played an important part in 3 major ways: educating children, imparting wisdom to all people, and passing down the oral history of family and culture. The use of storytelling seems to be an effective tool. Having clients tell their own stories goes beyond the simpler technique of the therapist telling stories to the clients. Roberts offered 5 ways of working with stories. First, hearing family stories, getting to know people and their unique life experiences. 2. Theme stories, asking for stories about a particular content area such as money, intimacy, betrayal, trust, relationships between individuals. 3. Cohering a story, helping people to story events that are fragmented and in so doing provide a cohesive flow to their lives. 4. Restoring, helping clients to re-author stories that have been told in ways that are not working for them or not facilitating their ability to move on in life. 5. Inventing stories, drawing on the power of imagination to create future, hypothetical or metaphorical stories or fantasy stories that are representative of some of the issues clients are dealing with, but with animals, made up people in make-believe lands. When clients engage in creative storytelling, they often report a feeling of reduction in tension and anxiety that seems to emerge from expressing their own stories in metaphor and myth. Dykerman stated that clients can find answers to their deepest, most intimate and compelling questions by beginning a journey that will lead them into the land where their dreams come from, into the depths of their own psyche. He suggested combining mythic storytelling with a writing process that produces self-awareness. This allows a dialogue between the ego with its consciously held values and the unconscious, in whose depths lie a variety of rich archetype images that reflect the deepest level of feelings. The symbols, images and myths that come during the storytelling process emerge from the depths of human experience. They serve to reveal the deepest aspects of reality that cannot be reached by any other kinds of knowledge. By observing the various myths, symbols and images that they produce, clients can actually begin to see themselves. Let me sum up. Expressive art therapy is a vehicle for awakening dormant creativity in an individual. It contributes to restoring the cognitive or intellectual, emotional or affect and creative and inspiration vacuums in today's stress-driven, technological, impersonal and often unsafe world. Finger painting is a form of projective play and is viewed within the context of the therapeutic situation. The consistent use of finger painting has proved invaluable in helping a client with behavior problems and neuroses. The squiggle drawing game is a pleasant method as well as a therapeutic one, as it uncovers the unconscious mind by allowing fantasy squiggles to express what is hidden. Mask making involves clients discovering who they are at the deepest level. To make a mask requires clients to know the differences between their persona and who they are at their core. Interpreting art activities therapy helps clients to synthesize and transform potentially destructive energy into constructive compositions. Play therapy enlarges the client's understanding of the world in which he or she lives and allows him or her to explore objects, roles, language and feelings without serious risk. In sand play therapy, the process of expressing what is inside the individual by creating a world in the sand makes the inner problem visible and allows therapeutic movement and growth. When clients engage in creative storytelling, they often report a feeling of reduction in tension and anxiety that seems to emerge from expressing their own stories in metaphor and myth. The varieties of expressive art therapy are designed to assist clients to recognize the voices from the inside so that they can find their way clearly and negotiate successfully through the hazards and alternate routes along their separate pathways. By listening and listening well, one can heal the soul through creativity. These activities serve as a guide to the world within, that deep well of the unconscious, where clues exist to provide appropriate guidance to productive living if one can only learn to listen. Let me sign off now and hope to see you in another session. Thank you.